one other point that is emphasized in wealth estates, but it's out there everywhere, has to do with right to work. There has been a perception, probably since Grapes of Wrath back in the 30s, that the relationship between workers and business owners must necessarily be adversarial. And I reject that notion completely. They have the same interests. When you go to states like Michigan, visit Detroit, you'll find that one of the things, I mean, Detroit was bankrupt in 2009. The entire economy of the state was in shambles. One of the things that happened was Michigan shocked the rest of the country by becoming a right-to-work state in 2009. We're talking about the bastion of unionism, the UAW, the big three automakers. It's probably, if somebody had asked me in 2008, which would be the last state in the union to become right-to-work, exactly. I would have probably guessed Michigan.
And then maybe West Virginia.
And what happened in Michigan, they understood in Michigan, the business leaders got together and they said, we're rock bottom, we're desperate. You know, if Detroit doesn't survive, doesn't turn the corner and start to thrive, the entire state is in big trouble. They got support politically from the entire state and from Detroit, implementing right-to-work laws that apply to private sector employers, not the public sector. In Maryland, in many states, union employment really is public sector. It's municipal employees, it's police, fire, school teachers, you name it. Right to work, I'm not saying that, you know, all of a sudden all kinds of manufacturers came to Michigan because, oh, now they're right to work, but I can tell you that when companies are looking to locate in a state, the first box they check is this state right to work? And if it's not, that state probably isn't even considered.
And you know that as a developer, not just as someone representing MBRG. You see that every day in your business.
Absolutely. And we have enormous opportunity in Maryland with Sparrows Point, the now Trade Point Atlantic. It is probably the best manufacturing site, you know, in this hemisphere. If Maryland were to enable, you know, right-to-work laws, there again, private sector, you know, possibly analogous to enterprise zones, Eastern Shore, Western Maryland. Obviously, the entire the Sparrows Point, Dundalk area has been very negatively impacted by the changes that occurred with the closing of the not just the Bethlehem Steel mill, but also you know, we saw the GM plant closing. You know, earlier than that, you know, wasn't that long ago, we were making airplanes in Essex. The opportunity to bring high-paying jobs back is there. It's the political will to provide right-to-work legislation, even on a limited basis. It would really could really move the needle on opportunity in Maryland.
And there are models out there for doing it on a limited basis. You have Kentucky that, you know, did it county by county. In this case, I think we're talking about some kind of an enterprise zone approach where the areas of the state that desperately need, Western Maryland, they have no work. They desperately need something like that.
If you just Google right-to-work states and look at the map of right-to-work states, you'll see that basically everything, with a few minor exceptions, east of the Mississippi, south of the Mason-Dixon line, is right to work. The most recent state to become right to work was West Virginia. I mean, you're talking about, you know, union, mining industry, and they realized that in order to have opportunity, they're going to have to become right to work. It seems that the states that have done that is because they've recognized that they need to do something, and it was a desperation. Now, Maryland, I don't know that we have that level of desperation since I'm going to say probably since the 1950s. Eisenhower was president, we had the growth of the military-industrial complex. That's when the federal government just grew geometrically and provided an awful lot of opportunity in Maryland. That's why we rank high in income. It's one reason why our income tax is high, because we had many federal workers living in Maryland that were not working within Maryland. And so it was smart for Maryland to have higher levels of income taxes. That way we got the money. I'm not sure that's the case now. I mean, I drive down 83 in the morning, and I'm telling you, I see an awful lot of Pennsylvania license plates when I'm driving to work in the morning. So I think that the idea, I think we might have flipped where we have more people actually working in Maryland and living outside of the state now.
You know, I think a lot of people don't really understand what right to work means. It's easier to look at the other side of it, I think, and what it really is forced unionism. So right to work says that you have a right to work anywhere you want to and don't have to join a union. And so when you think about what Scott's saying about someone coming in and looking at a state, is it right to work or is it not? Am I going to have to deal with forcing my workers to become unionized? We've seen, you look at all the industries in America that are really hurting or barely existent anymore. They're all heavily unionized.
One nuance about right to work is in many cases you're not actually required to join the union. You're only required to pay union dues. The theory being, we join the union if you want to or not, but you're getting the benefit of the collective bargaining, and that's why they require the people join the union. All we're suggesting is that it's worth a conversation in Annapolis, serious confirmation, open-minded. What might this do to Maryland?